Thanks very much for being here. 91.6% of Victorians aged over 16 have now had a first dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. So that number continues to grow, and I want to thank each and every one of those Victorians who've gone and got vaccinated, first dose, second dose. This is how we protect ourselves and each other. It's how we open up and stay open. It's how we normalise this, and as some have termed it, it's how we live with COVID. There are 75.4% over the age of 16 who have now had a second dose and are fully protected by one of the COVID-19 vaccines. 28,232 vaccines were administered in our state hubs yesterday, plus of course significant tens of thousands of doses in community pharmacy, and we thank our pharmacists and their teams for the work they're doing, and GP practices across the state. We thank GPs and their teams of staff, as well as all the staff that are working in our state hubs, pop-ups, mini pop-ups, local neighbourhood activity. It really has been quite an extraordinary effort, and it's why this Friday at 6 p.m. we'll be able to celebrate further opening, further easing, really significant changes as we get to 80% double dose, and then in just a few weeks' time 90%, and a period where so many of these rules will go, and we'll be able to take that really big step. Protected as we'll be by then, more than 9 in 10 people aged over 12 will have been double dosed. We're able to move into a very different phase, one where there's no caps, one where there's no density quotients, one where so many of the things we've had to live with, we won't need to have those imposts and those burdens any longer, because the community have done exactly what we asked them to do, and I say thank you to every single person who's gone and got vaccinated. I just make this point though, there are a lot of second dose appointments that need to be honoured, people who need to turn up and get that second dose. If you can bring your second dose appointment forward, please do so. If you're on the fence, if you haven't quite made up your mind yet about whether you will or won't get vaccinated and be protected by these vaccines that are free, that are safe, that are effective, please reconsider that decision. Please go and get vaccinated. It's the best protection. More than any rules, more than any lockdowns, 2 doses of this vaccine is the greatest protection that you can have for your health and the health of those you love, and indeed the health system for those non-COVID patients who need care and support every hour of every single day. There are 56,000 first dose appointments and 78,000 second dose appointments available at state hubs over the next 7 days. So if you are one of those people who needs a second dose, those appointments are there available. There are walk-ups. If you're on the fence, as I said, there is supply. For the first time in a long time, that's not a limiting factor. You can go and get an appointment, and you can be part of that more than 5.1 million Victorians who have at least 1 dose and are protected from very serious illness. There are dozens of sites that are offering walk-ups without an appointment, and the website has all of those details, and I think the Chief Health Officer is going to speak to some of the stories coming out of our pop-up sites. And again, we're so grateful, so grateful to everybody across the community who's done exactly the right thing, gone and got vaccinated to protect themselves and all of us. There are 817 people that are currently in hospital with COVID-19, 147 are in intensive care, and 88 are on a ventilator. Of the people in hospital yesterday, that's all of those 817, 87% were not fully vaccinated. And of the people in intensive care, so those who are sickest, 96% of those people were not fully vaccinated. That, I think, it's not a statistic, because it's a story of people, but it tells you everything you need to know, that if you're vaccinated, double dose protected, then your chances of finishing up in hospital really unwell are very, very small. I'll put it another way, the protection that these vaccines give you is clearly proven, and they will keep you out of hospital. They'll keep you well and safe, and that's why it's so important that people go and have the first and the second dose. I'm sad to have to report that 4 people have passed away with COVID-19, 3 men and a woman, all in their 80s. And of course we send our condolences and our best wishes to their family and friends. This will be a very difficult time for them. There were 55,679 tests processed and results received yesterday. There were 1,510 new cases of coronavirus, all locally acquired, and that takes our active cases to some 24,715. Now, before I hand to Minister Foley to talk in more detail about the pandemic-specific laws that we have introduced into the Parliament today, I just wanted to provide you with some background. We said that as the state of emergency and as legislative arrangements fell due, we made a commitment some time ago that we would introduce pandemic-specific laws, that we would have a set of measures that were not written with a hypothetical in mind, but were the product of learnings and the experiences that we've all been through, all of us, over these last 20 plus months. That's exactly the framework that we have introduced into the Parliament. This is modelled on the New Zealand law. There are elements of what happens in New South Wales and other states also, but we've gone beyond that in terms of accountability and transparency, the view of experts and the broadest view. Now that shouldn't be taken as a criticism of anybody who's been involved in our pandemic response, particularly our public health team. Under the current law, their job is to be first and foremost concerned with public health. And that's what you want when you don't have a vaccine. Once you move to a vaccinated economy and a vaccinated community, and you've got the protections of those vaccines, when you're in this stage of this pandemic, you need to have a broader focus. And that's exactly what these new arrangements will underpin, a broader focus. They also set us up having learnt many different things across the journey for whatever that next pandemic might look like, whenever that might be into the future. It is appropriate that you do what you say. We said that there would be pandemic-specific laws. That's exactly what we've introduced into the Parliament. They are based on some other models in other parts of our country and the world, but they go further in many ways in terms of scrutiny, oversight, transparency. They are the right set of arrangements, and there's been widespread consultation with experts in many different fields to come up with this model, and we look forward to them passing the Parliament. We'll continue to talk with the crossbench as we always do, negotiating in good faith and having these arrangements in place well before those that are currently in place expire in a few weeks' time. Victorians have done an amazing job. All of us have been through so much, but together and by sticking together, we have achieved, well, we're going to be one of the most vaccinated communities anywhere in the world. And I thank every Victorian who's been vaccinated. That is so important. It's also important that we learn from the experience and that we have the best set of arrangements in place for this next phase, for this living with COVID phase, for the normalisation of this virus. That's what the rest of this year looks like. It's what Friday night at 6 o'clock looks like, the 24th of November, of course, Christmas and well into 2022. We're in a different phase and we need specific laws, just as we promised, that will protect us and keep us safe. That was our commitment, that's what we have delivered, and to now talk in more detail about those arrangements, I'll ask the Minister for Health, Martin Foley, to address you.